And later, we'll step aboard one of the most important historic ships in America. For anyone who loves boats, sailing, or life on the water, Mystic Seaport is far more than a museum. It's a living waterfront where historic ships are still restored, traditional craftsmanship is still preserved, and America's maritime story continues to unfold. Join me as we explore one of the country's most remarkable maritime destinations. All right, we're inside the museum, and this place is fantastic. It's just so cool. I'm going to try to capture as much as I can from this visit, but it's going to be very interesting. Well, folks, welcome to the Mystic Seaport Museum. At the entrance of the museum, as you come in, that is your welcome. A nice old tug that's sitting there. There's beautiful gardens throughout the museum area. You can see behind me that's entrance to the museum itself. As I turn around, you have the Mystic River right behind me, and you have the shops on the opposite side. So this is definitely a cool destination to come and check out. From the moment you walk through the entrance, it feels less like visiting a museum and more like stepping into a 19th century New England seaport. Wooden buildings line the streets, shipyard sound replace the city traffic, and every turn reveals another glimpse into a time when America's coastline depended on ships, skilled craftsmen, and life at sea. Rather than rushing from exhibit to exhibit, this is a place best experienced at a slower pace. The atmosphere is just as important as the artifacts themselves. Next, we're going to the carvings exhibit. And these are carvings back in the old days. This is what they would put throughout the ship, on the bow of the ship, on the stern of the ship. These were things that both are part of superstition and lore, but also it added a lot of beauty, and you can see the level of craftsmanship that went into this kind of work. So this is kind of a representation of what the mess hall would look like for the officers on board a ship. You can see some examples of routing back in the day. Actually, this would be the captain's bed, and you know you can't see it, but the floor is angling up, which is you were on the stern of the ship, so it would be coming up out of the water. But the captain would have his own armoire and the sleeping quarters. So we come aft. This would be one of the officers' quarters. The single berth is actually on a gimbal, so it would rotate as the ship would move. But this would be the area where the captain would sit and entertain himself. Typically, a lot of this seafaring folks would have a hobby of some sort, play music, they'll read books, play the violin. When you're sailing, you had a lot of time on your hands, so people used it in a productive way. So as you can see, the headroom on one of those clippers or tall ships is not a lot. So there'll be spaces where it's crawling space, and there'll be spaces where you could actually stand up. The dining area would be one of those places. Well, next we're going to check out a little bit of the history of the whaling fleet. So we're going into the Charles Morgan, a whaling ship that was restored and is kept here at the Seaport Museum. We're going to start with the whaleboat exhibit, and then we're going to get into the Charles Morgan. The whaleboat is what they would lower from the main ships, and then they would go after the whales with the harpoons. And this is all done rowing. They would have harpoons on board with lines and floats to keep the whale out of the water, but it was the most dangerous job around, primarily because the whale can breach and smash right into the boat. The reason they did so much hunting for whales is because of the whale oil. They would use it to burn on lamps, to cook and other things. So it was something that at the time, it was a way of living. This is kind of the cutaway of the Charles Morgan. You can see quarters down below is where they would store the oils in barrels. So they would have to get all the work done on deck, then slowly get it into barrels and then lower it into the hull of the ship. This is Little Vigilant. This is actually a private yacht. Wood mast. So somebody's still sailing that beautiful yacht. This is another nice thing about being here in Mystic. You see some things that you don't see anywhere else. You know, this is somebody's sailboat that they still use, and it's a historic piece. All right, now we're getting to the part I've really been looking forward to. This is a Charles W. Morgan, the last surviving wooden whaling ship of her kind. Built in 1841, she's one of America's most iconic historic vessels. Let's step on board and see what life was like for the sailors who called the ship home. Up at those decks, up above is where they would do a lot of the carving, and then they start working its way down. So this is the captain's cabin. Not much. This is small accommodations, but it was private.
Hello. You know, you can go below deck down those stairs.
Here's the galley.
It is. Yeah, we cook for a crew of about 35.
35, okay.
Tell us a little bit about that. What is it like to cook for 35 people in the very tiny kitchen?
Well, you know, it wasn't exactly gourmet cuisine, and so a couple of big iron pots and a griddle would probably do it.
How long was the Morgan in service?
It whaled from 1841 to 1920, which was a very long life for whaling ships. Normally they lasted 20, 25 years, and they'd be scrapped and the wood would be, you know, repurposed. But because the Morgan was very successful in its early voyages in terms of bringing back a full cargo of whale oil, which is this ship's only reason for existing. The owners in New Bedford kept it maintained very well for a long period of time, and that really enabled the Morgan to sail around the world 8 times over its career and more than 1 million miles.
So basically they would, whenever they catch a whale, they would render it down to oil, and that's the only thing they would bring back? Or did they keep any of the other?
Well, there were some adjunct substances, something called ambergris, which is in the whale's brain that was used for perfume, things like that. But the real money was in the oil, and so that was their purpose, you know.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff.
My pleasure.
You don't mind being on video?
No, I don't care.
Okay. Can I go now?
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, heading below decks. You got to start watching your head as you go down. Have the officers' dining area. Captain's cabin. This is the head for the private head for the captain. And that's where they would sleep. After many years, the wives of the captain were allowed to travel with him on the voyages. I guess this is a galley for the captain. This is where they would keep, and the officers' mess, this is where they would keep all the utensils and serving items, as well as they would bring the food down here. Now, there's not a lot of headroom as you get below decks. This is the first mate's quarters. Basically, you get a bunk, a bed, and a stand-up desk, a little bit of storage, and one teeny tiny port light on the back, and a little bit of port light on the top. This is the second mate's cabin, and there usually be two of them. So you get two bunks, a locker, and some shelves. And again, you get a little port light. This boat will have 7 cabins. Basically, they're bunk style. So every crew member just gets a bunk. At this level, the bunks and the beds were primarily for folks that had specific trades, like the sailmakers or carpenters, people that were beyond being a basic sailor on the boat. So this level has a little bit more room than the standard sailor's quarters that you'll see below. These are some of the tools for the carpenter on the ship. And here's the other cabin for 4 people. Idlers were crewmen that perform specific jobs. So you have sailmakers, smiths, carpenters, barrel makers, cooks, stewards. You have this folks that were not sailors, they were just performing the job. A lot of times they became sailors over time because they had to help with the different activities on the ship. To give you a perspective, as I'm down below decks, I'm 6 foot tall. You can see how my head already have to be very careful navigating through. But the level of craftsmanship that goes into building the ships and how they maximize the space is actually pretty cool. Yeah. So the further back we go, the smaller the space gets. So we're towards the center part of the ship. Those grids you typically see on the top deck is the way to access the cargo area. So they would bring things down this very steep steps or lower them with pulleys and ropes to get it down all the way down to the cargo. Here is where the folks that would do the skills or trades would be. This area is where they would be doing cutting and lowering. The oil is rendered by burning it, burning the fat, and that creates the oil. Here you would have the carpenters and the barrel makers kind of doing all their trade. But this is, a very, very low space. The only way I can move around is by bending over. And down here you can see some of the barrels that they use to store the oil, and these barrels are big. I mean, I can fit inside of these barrels completely. You can see the space from the top of the barrel to the top of underneath the deck, and you can get a little view down below of how they would store the barrels. Here's the process of how they process a whale. They would do the cutting into blanket pieces. They would lower the cutting into the room and stack the decks into horse pieces approximately 4 feet long and 6 inches high. They would mince it, trying out one day and night until the blubber had been rendered. When the book pieces had given up their oil, then they were used as fuel, and enough crackling was kept to start the next fire. As a sailor on a whaling ship, you did not have a lot of space. These bunks are really small, but that was all the space that was allowed to the crewmen and the sailors. All right, working our way up. So that's how the whale ships will carry the whaleboats. They will lower those in the water. This is a windlass on the old ships.
When we get back up on deck,
Every ship has its own ship bell.
another fun anecdote.
Oh, pardon. Come this way, Lottie.
This is the Fort Castle. This is down below where the ships would go.
Whalers, their first was their homeland. Like Herman Melville, who realized that writing books was deaf. So, and they did not care for that. So they have a little celebration that they would use
Massive. The square rig is massive. Well, this is a quick tour of the Charles Morgan. This whaling ship was in service for a very long time. It was very successful in bringing back whale oil, which was a key item back in the days in the 1800s for that industry. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this abbreviated view of the Mystic Seaport Museum. This is definitely a great location. You can spend a couple of days just enjoying the sights and the scenes in here. Lots to do. So if you're in Mystic, Connecticut, definitely take some time and come spend a couple of days here at the museum.